She has been called the First Lady of musical comedy, having spent over 5 decades on the Broadway stage, creating such signature roles as Lorelei Lee in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly. But the stage simply could not contain her, and she took her larger-than-life persona to the silver screen in Thoroughly Modern Millie. She's made countless special guest appearances on TV variety, talk, and game shows, but it's always been her unique voice and sparkling personality that's made her a standout in a galaxy full of stars. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up on Interviews, our conversation with Oscar nominee and 3-time Tony winner, Carol Channing. When did you first realize that you had become a legend?
Oh, I didn't realize it.
No one told you?
No, nobody did. No, everybody thinks he's a legend. You know, a lot of people do. But if you're smart, you don't think so.
There has to come a time, though, when you realize everyone knows you. You're Carol Channing.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah?
Oh, yes, on the plane, everybody leaned out and they had cameras and everything. Oh, I loved it.
So when was the first time you realized that?
It came slowly.
Did it?
Yes, it did. Well, it came way back in a little review called Lendoneer, and I did 9 different characters, and I loved that review because I got to go from little baby flapper of the 20s who lost her way, and then all of a sudden a terrible Madame Lafarge type that knits people's names in yarn, and I just played every kind of character, and teaching a boy his first dance, and it's a great business.
What was it that appealed to you about acting?
I was standing on the stage for the first time in the 5th grade.
At the Curran Theater?
No,
in
it
San
was
Francisco?
Commodore Sloat Grammar School.
Oh, okay.
In San Francisco. And I was standing on the stage, and all of a sudden I realized, I'm lifting their lives. This is the greatest privilege in the world. And I realized I was lifting. All of them were sitting there, and slowly they began. I was elected secretary right up until high school. And this was the 5th grade. And really, it was the best experience in the world. Being an only child is lonely, and it means you can bring everybody home with you in your imagination. And I brought Miss Berard, the principal, home. She was apparently the forerunner of Julia Childs. Are you too young?
No, I remember Julia.
You do?
Yes.
Go to the polls and vote for Carol. And you know who laughed the most? Miss Berard. I mean, I found out then, no malice. I had no malice. I was crazy about her. Went in her office.
So you love to do imitations of folks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But this is the launching of the campaign, the first campaign to bring arts back into public schools.
So that's taken up a good deal of your time now, is working on the arts in school.
All my time.
Yeah.
And letters and everything. And it's so important, and the students are so grateful. And there's in Palm Springs, we have a house in Palm Springs, and the children are in the orchestra are so thrilled with that they can get. And Harry, my husband, gets instruments for them. Oh, he got wonderful brand new instruments from New York. And they came and they opened it, and somebody put the phone right there in the room as they opened it. Oh, and I could hear the tissue paper and the other paper, the boxes being opened, and the knife cutting everything, the box open and all that. And, oh, what's that? They'd say. And I'd say, I think it's an oboe. And they were asking each other, and guess what they learned first? Hello, Dolly. They learned it first. Of course, I cried my buckets.
Yeah.
And we brought them to Harry's sister's house Lucille Pilibosian. They're Armenians, wonderful people. They love the arts. The moment they make any money, they get a library for the town. They get anything a museum. They're wonderful about the arts, and it's deep in Harry's soul to do that. And that's why he feels this way. And I was imbued with it when I was 12 years old. I got Harry's love of the arts. Harry and I met when we were 12 and 13.
Which is a wonderful story.
Oh, is it?
Yes, you meet and then you don't see each other for years and years and years?
No, but we didn't just meet. We went steady together.
Right.
He was center on the soccer team. Oh, he was so good, and he won for the whole state of California.
And then it's like 60 years, and then you get back together again.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing? I wrote about him in my book, My First Love.
Yeah.
That's my first love. And it was. So Mervyn of Mervyn's Department Stores, he said, he was reading the book on the plane. He got off the plane, called Harry. Harry, this girl is my favorite entertainer. Harry, she's still in love with you. She's remembering everything. And so Harry's wife had just died. It was a beautiful 60-year marriage. And I know she's my friend. I just know it. She wanted him to marry again. And she said, you've got to marry again, Harry. You can't live alone. And I know you. And Harry kept my picture with him in his living room.
Really? All those years?
And she allowed it. So I allow her picture in the living room now. Gorgeous girl. Yeah. Oh, this girl was beautiful.
Now, when you first met Harry, were you interested in acting then? Were you already
Oh, yes, I was interested. I was up on the stage and nobody could get me off.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And now, and then Harry formed the first school orchestra, very small orchestra. That is not the big one that's down in the pit. He played the saxophone in that. But he formed it and sang... I said, Harry, I'm going to run for vice president of the school. Can you help me? I need a campaign song. So he said, sure. They wrote it. Harry wrote it. He wrote it all by himself. We had Sammy Parazzo on the drums. He was better than Gene Krupa. He was better than Pearl Bailey's husband. He was, well, anyway, so, do you want to know the campaign song?
If you know it, do you remember?
Yeah. We want Carol, we want Carol. When I'm vice president, we'll all leave school at 12 o'clock. When I'm vice president, we want Carol. And I kept it up. We had about 10 verses, I think. And we kept it up until they were all singing We Want Carol. We won by a landslide.
So did they get to go home at noon? At 12 o'clock?
Oh, I forgot about that. But I did get to raise the flag, and they didn't allow that in those days. Girls couldn't raise the flag.
So a trendsetter
George
right then.
Fenneman won as president. Do you remember him on the Groucho Marx show?
Yes.
That was George Fenneman, the president, and I was the vice president, and we got along just fine.
Well, that's some high school, isn't that?
Somehow, no, this is
junior high. Some junior high.
You start at 12 in this school, you see.
Wow. When do you decide that you can leave home and become an actress? When you go out into the world?
Well, I was already an actress. I was doing it like crazy. And so I wanted to go to Bennington where you can major in the arts.
Yeah.
And boy, am I glad I went to Bennington.
It worked out for you?
It worked out for me. Stanislavski tells you how to find the spine of every single creative piece of work in the theater, in the live theater. Oh, Konstantin Stanislavski and Richard Boleslavsky. And everybody I think of, and I think I must call him and tell him how grateful I am, they're all gone.
Yeah.
I'm 90.
I know.
Oh, it's hard to remember that.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like you're 90? When someone says, Carol, you're 90, does that catch you off guard?
No, I just keep thinking, thank you for for all that I've learned. The first thing I learned, I felt it, is to lift people's lives. That was my ambition. Yeah. I found out Bobby Schmalz nominated me. You don't know him. And I went up the 5 steps and to the stage. They're still there. And I stood there, and I was shaking like a leaf. And slowly, I was able to talk to them. And I thought, I know what, I'll do what I do best. I'll turn into somebody else. So I did Mr. Schwartz. I did the whole faculty. It went over so big, and I asked my father, can I, Daddy, dedicate my life right now to lifting people's lives, the feeling of lifting those children's lives and having them go along with you and applaud and all that. It's the greatest feeling in the world. And you see, it's a privilege to be an only child. Never feel sorry for an only child.
Does it hurt you then when you hear about all the arts programs being cut from the schools?
Oh, they're cutting the life out of us. Do you know what they did? This is what they did just before the fall of the Holy Roman Empire. Albert Einstein said, the theory of relativity is great, but the Mona Lisa is greater.
Yeah.
He got it. And you know, that's the way all art is. It's fertilizer on the brain. Yeah. It absolutely is. Something seeps into you. You do creative work, and if you've ever had the feeling of creating Lorelei Lee or Hello, Dolly. I did some 10 shows on Broadway, and I created all kinds of characters.
Let me ask you a little about Dolly. You brought up Dolly.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about, what I find fascinating about the character, is I know that you've done 5,000 plus performances of this.
Plus, much plus.
You're iconic as this role to the whole world. What is it that you brought to the role that made people identify so with you in that character?
Oh, well, I was the first one to do it.
Right.
And I played it to the hilt. I didn't let anybody else do it. I wouldn't. It went on for years. No, I'm here.
There have been others that have tried it. Pearl Bailey has been in it. Barbra
Streisand
Streisand
but that was long after. And then I went on tour, and we just went all over.
Yeah.
Oh, it was wonderful to bring Dolly.
Was it you that made the character, or was the character well written in the page initially?
Well written, Thornton Wilder.
Yeah.
He said, he used to go around to people and say, "This is my Dolly. This is my Dolly." And people looked at him like he's crazy. He was getting on a ship to go overseas. And he went around to every table before the ship, the horn blew and said I had to get off the ship. And, "This is my Dolly," he'd say. And so I'd say, "Hello, Dolly," just to help him out. They didn't know we hadn't opened yet.
Really? So it was before it opened?
Oh, yes, he was so proud. He's one of our 6 greatest playwrights, and I found the spine to Hello, Dolly. And the spine is to rejoin the human race. That's the spine of it. Every character in it has to have the same spine, including the main character, which is Dolly. And it's to every one of them. Ephraim, let me go. It's been long enough, Ephraim. Every evening for all these years. It's her last speech to her dead husband. I've locked the door. I've put out the cat. I've made myself a little rum toddy and all that. And she says, "And Ephraim, you know what I want now? I want to rejoin the human race." I thought, that's the spine. I asked Thornton Wilder. He says, "I don't know. I got to think about that." He wrote it honestly and truly. If you write and play it honestly and truly, you don't have to talk about the spine. And finally, I said, well, Konstantin Stanislavski says, very often the great man who writes the character doesn't realize that he captured it. Once and for all, he captured it all the way. Oh.
Which is so important for the actor, for people to realize that is the work of the actor, to realize it, to bring it to life.
Oh, it's got to be. You get Barnaby and Cornelius out of that basement and get them up and have them rejoin the human race. That's it. Has to be a verb. and get Mrs. Malloy, who hates hats, get out of that millinery shop and go to New York. And Dolly says to Ephraim, I want to rejoin the human race, Ephraim, and you got to help me. I'm alone, and I want you to help me. I'm going to rejoin the human race, and Ephraim, I want you to give me away. Yeah. Before the parade passes by, I'm gonna get in step while there's still time left. Before the parade passes by, before it all moves on and only I'm left, I'm ready to move out in front. I've had enough of just passing by life. With the rest of them, with the best of them, I can hold my head up high, for I've got a goal again. I've got to drive again. I'm going to feel my heart coming alive again before the parade. Trombones come in. Passes by. Drums.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Isn't
Wonderful.
that what Jerry Herman wrote that?
Yeah.
From what we were doing with that. Oh, it's thrilling to be able to. This art thing, you're alive again.
Yeah.
You're alive.
So how do you take your thrill and excitement about the arts and get children today to realize it, to come back into the fold?
Get them to do it. They've got to find the spine. They've got to find what it's about. What is this story really about?
So we need the arts.
Without the arts.
To help people dream and think and learn and explore.
Yes. You see, graffiti is vicious. But that's their only means of expression now. All they've got is these darned IQ tests.
Well, I want to take you back to Dolly again for just a moment. With all of the performances you've done of that role, for an actor it's probably a dumb question, but for those of us that aren't, how do you keep it vibrant, alive, and interesting after so many performances? You must be able to just say the speeches in your sleep, but you bring such life to it each time. What is the secret?
Oh, like Noel Coward said, he said, put me in your audience. Put someone who loves you in the audience. I put Harry, my husband. I put my father sometimes. I get terribly stage fright. But Helen Hayes said, stage fright is God-given. It's fertilizer on the brain. Your brain starts cooking with stage fright. And Noel Coward said, you put me in your audience, love, and you'll see it'll work. It doesn't work unless the person loves you, that you put in your imagination. I put different people, and it never is the same, never.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and Noel said, you do that and you'll see. It will work. What a compliment. What a great favor he did me.
You mentioned Noel Coward, and you've had the pleasure of meeting many other famous people.
But they come backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets stage fright, something awful, so I told him what Helen Hayes said.
Yeah?
Didn't help him.
What about Tallulah Bankhead? You knew Tallulah Bankhead.
Yes. Well, you see, the most noticeable thing about Tallulah is that she had trouble keeping her clothes on. Isn't that a peculiar... Isn't that a strange thing? And so I learned never to look down. That wasn't easy. She had nothing on. And so I would, right there, there's some kind of a psychological disease she had. It's not her fault. It's just an illness. You know, she didn't mean... So she stands there. She'd say, hello, Carol. Listen, darling. I want to tell you... And then I kept my chin up and just looked at her head and talked to her. It wasn't easy, and I never looked down.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And she asked me if I'd like to go see... You want to come in? See a movie... Oh, I'm making a movie right now. You want to go? She would just get lost in these growls, you see. Oh, she was wonderful.
What about Sophie Tucker?
Oh, how do you know this?
I do my research.
I adored Sophie Tucker. I just adored. Well, Sophie walked out. You know, she was a ample, built. She had. She was she was amply. She was fat, is what she was, and so she just walked. She was born in fourth position ballet. You know, that way, feet, boom, boom, boom. You know. She was my friend. We were good friends. Come on, Carol, sit down with me. We'll have a little toast and coffee. It turned out to be Viennese toast, which is whipped cream, powdered sugar, a whole lot of stuff on it. And the coffee was, she dumped everything into it. and she'd sit there. But she was my friend. Yeah. And she said, I want you to do the movie with me. Well, they haven't done the movie yet. So I'd be happy to gain 100 pounds and do it. I'd do it for Sophie. I can do it. I know I can because I love her so much. Yeah. If you really love the character you're doing and you really understand it, you can't stop doing her. Yeah. You answer the garbage collector as Sophie Tucker. You answer, you just walk down the street that way. How much is my ticket to the bus man? What's my ticket to the, how much do you want? In those days, it was only 10 cents.
It's gone up a bit.
Yeah, that's how old I am.
But now you mentioned movies, and you didn't do a whole bunch of movies, but what you did was very well received. For example, Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Oh, well, that's Julie Andrews.
Oh, no, that was you, too. Somebody got an Oscar nomination in that.
Oh, yes.
And that would be you.
That Julie, she's such heaven to work with. And she came in on her day off, I've got to tell you, the first day since Mary Poppins. She didn't have any day. She just made movie after movie after Mary Poppins. Yeah. And she came in on a Saturday. She walked forward. They were shooting me. And it was me telling her to... I was talking to Julie and telling her, you mustn't just want the emeralds. We would have made it, my husband and I, on green glass without emeralds. It has to be there first. And I'm trying to tell her. And she came in her jeans, no makeup, hair looking terrible. And she walked forward to me, took both my hands. She held onto them, and she said, tell me about it. And she made it possible for me to win the Golden Globe Award, which is the movie critics from all over the world. They're the critics all over the world, not just Hollywood. She wanted me to win that. That's Julie. She made up her mind that she wanted me to win that. And she just, I talked to her, and I talked to one of the critics in Paris about it. And I said, why did you vote for me? Why? Are you sure this is a work of art, what I did? I thought it was mostly funny on top of that xylophone. And he said, it was that scene with Julie. He said, I saw you looking at Julie. And we got the back of her head. Yeah. And that's all. And he said, it was the way you just looked at her and relaxed completely. And told her, I could cry over that girl.
Yeah.
She is so now she's won this wonderful award. She deserves it. Yeah. It's, the Queen, yes, is giving her the award for, I forget exactly what it's called, but she certainly deserves it. Yeah. And she you know what? She thinks the world and all of everybody she's working with.
Really?
Yes, that's what happens to her.
Is it important, the relationship you have with those you act with, to get a good product?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've always been crazy about everybody I worked with. Yeah. And they came to my birthday party, and we just kissed and hugged each other and carried on. We did love each other dearly.
Yeah. I know everyone will get mad at me if I don't mention Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. So,
oh, yes.
Lorelei Lee.
Yeah.
How does that character sit with you today? Do you feel like you know her still?
Oh, yes. Oh, she'll always be.
Yeah.
I think Lorelei is, yes, she's just a baby flapper from the foot of the Ozarks, and she went to New York, and she doesn't. To her, she isn't doing anything wrong. She just, baby, it was the most well-written character. Anita Luce wrote her.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, can she write comedy. But it was satire.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful satire. It was, Marilyn Monroe did it in the movies.
And she came to see you on stage, correct?
Yes, she did. Did you know that?
Yeah, they made her go time and time again to see what you were doing.
Yeah, for a month.
Yeah.
And she sat in the third row center. Milt Rosenstock was the conductor. And he said, the brass section, the fiddle section, this section, all that. They saw this beautiful blonde girl, and their mouths fell open and they could hardly play. And they kept looking at her. And it's just, well, anyway, there she sat for one solid month, and they just wait and look at her. And but she was adorable. She did it for real.
Yeah.
I did it for satire. But you can do that on Broadway. People who buy tickets for Broadway shows, they know what satire is.
Right. And well, all I can say is thank you for all the work you've done, for all you've given us, and for all you're doing for the arts. It's truly a gift.
Thank you. Do you think so? Did I give you something, Ernie?
You did. You have given me a lot of joy and pleasure through the years, and even today, just sitting here with you.
I love hearing that, Ernest. That's my goal was achieved with you. I lifted your life.
Thank you.
Oh, mwah.
Carol Channing.
To order a DVD of this or any episode of Interviews, please visit HoustonPBS.org.